So if you're wondering about NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrency, DAOs, smart contracts, if you're trying to figure out what all that is, I'm going to explain a lot of this to you and how it actually pertains to your business. Hey, I'm Jim, 03 Studios. Want to talk to you real quick about what's happening with us as well as the rest of the world around us. And it's blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DAOs, smart contracts, all these types of things that are swirling around as buzzwords. And if you're like me, back when this first started, I was scratching my head, and I'm in the tech business. I do this every time there's a new mutation in the tech world. Things always hit the art community and the gaming community first. And a lot of the reason of that is to get the utility to work, you have to kind of run it through its paces. And gaming is very intensive. Art is, well, it's always been used for things like money laundering, so you can put a value to it for whatever you want. And people will buy it for one reason or another. Right now it's being traded as a commodity, and people are buying NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And if you don't know what that is by now, there's a lot of things out there on the internet that can explain it. But right now we're not going to dive into the definition of an NFT. But what it is a digital property that people are buying that asset, and you can own that asset through a digital wallet. Now, by doing so, you can resell that digital asset. And there's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down about why put value to it, why hold it, why resell it, why would someone pay more for something that's just you can view on your computer. But that's the problem. People look at that at this stage of the tech, and they start to see it at face value. And there's so much more to what an NFT is, what cryptocurrency is, and what blockchain and smart contracts represent. And when you try to dive in day one and absorb all this information, it's overwhelming. You discount it as a fad or something that's going to come and go. It's not. This is actually an evolution of the web, of the internet, of how we interact digitally with information. And when you interact with information, be it a photo, a digital asset, it actually can be translated and used into contracts, into property, into execution of a service. And that's what these NFTs represent, is the first rendition of the new web, which they're calling Web 3. Now, I'll give you a quick rundown. Web 1 was a informational exchange where you would go to a website, you would read information, and that was it. People would post information, people would consume information. That was back in the 90s. Then in 2000, Web 2 evolved. And that's the evolution of the social networks, MySpace, YouTube, where you can put information up and down. So it wasn't just going to the internet in Web 1 and taking information in. As a user, you could find information and contribute to that information, or download that information, exchange information. And that's where websites, digital shopping, e-commerce, all those things evolved. Your news chain or your newsletter chain became a core of your business marketing, keeping in contact with customers and services. It all was part of Web 2. Well, that was centralized. That was run through certain channels to keep that interaction going. You relied on your internet provider, Facebook, your mail server, all these types of things, and you had to find your way into those systems. Web 3 is what's called decentralized, and this is another deep dive that we're not going to go very far into, but basically what that means is it takes it from a server base, one individual point of contact, and it distributes this information over hundreds of thousands of servers run by individual miners that you validate information from its conception when you create this information. And then there's a system, which is the blockchain, that takes it and validates it on and on and on until there's a change. So if I have cryptocurrency, which is based in blockchain, and I have one Ether or one Bitcoin, and then I decide to make a purchase, well, in the existing internet, You have to go to PayPal. PayPal has to process your information. It goes to a clearinghouse, which processes that holds it, and then it goes to your bank. Your bank validates it, then goes back to the processor, and it takes that money out of your account. They clear it. They send that money to the vendor, and then ultimately your transaction goes through. And that's all through one person. So when you ever had an error with your bank, that's what decentralized blockchain fixes. Now it's in this blockchain continues to validate this transaction in anywhere from a minute to 10 minutes. And as this transaction goes, you decide to spend that 1 Bitcoin to purchase something. It validates you have 1 Bitcoin. That person has a wallet that you're going to send that Bitcoin to, and it happens instantly, and it is a mathematical equation that cannot be compromised or can be forged. So there's no need for a clearinghouse to hold the funds and validate it while your bank clears it and takes it out and sends it to someone else, and there's room for human error and even systems errors. This is very much a real-time transaction that happens in an instant. It depends on how much is going through the system at one time. That's a different conversation, but it's a technology that allows you to not have to rely on third parties to process a transaction. Now, how this relates to business is what you can do with that. And that's where things like NFTs, social coins, tokens, and DAOs come in. If you're a business owner right now and you're wondering about cryptocurrency, you're wondering about how does this affect me, and you're blowing it off as, well, this is just something that's never going to touch, my business, you're wrong. You need to learn about DAOs. And we're going to dive in. We're going to spend every effort from here on out. We're going to shift from marketing, and we're really going to focus double down on crypto and blockchain information so you can understand not how to buy NFTs. I'm not into NFT trading. That's a whole different thing. I think that is a bit of a fad. It's more or less baseball cards. That's a very easy way to explain it. It's in the infancy of this technology, and it is the easiest way for people to validate it, to test it, to run it, to see how it works. But through this process, there's a lot of problem solving going on, a lot of discovery of the dynamic of what you can do. And to me, a business and a DAO go hand in hand. And we're going to dive in and understand what a DAO is, how a DAO can fit your business, and how you can turn that DAO into a service that extends you into what is Web3, which is what the new internet is going to become. Now, I'll dive into some of these topics moving forward and drill down and get the information out. It's confusing. I know the 6-7 minutes I just spent with you, I laid a lot of stuff out fast just to at least give you a splash of the details that we're going to cover. But it is something you need to pay attention to as a business owner, because the people that can understand this the soonest and execute it into their business model are going to find an opportunity to rise to the top. It's going to declutter the digital space, and now's the time for you to claim your space in the forefront of that. If you're a business owner, at any point, I want to hear from you. I want you to comment, question, message me, ask me how can this apply to your business, because I will dissect that with you right here on this show and share that information with you. I'll give you a couple very vague examples. Currently, I'm working on 3 DAO projects. One is based in the publishing world, because if you've paid any attention to the channel, I started out publishing digital magazines, digital media, interactive media back when the iPhone first came out. So that's my bread and butter, the heart and soul of what got me into tech. So we have a publishing DAO that we're setting up. Actually, that's going to be an open book here. We're going to share how we do that. I have what's called a blue chip DAO, which is a large profile DAO where there's tens of millions of dollars involved. It's a very large project that's unfolding, and that's kind of a revolutionary product. That is the first of its kind in its industry, from a traditional industry going into a DAO. So we're gonna, once we get that established, We're going to share some of that insight as well. And then I have a small business DAO that is really about how to take a small business and turn it into blockchain technology using cryptocurrency and all the tools at hand. It's a lot, guys. It is not an easy subject. It is like trying to bend your brain around the matrix. It takes a minute. I started in cryptocurrency way back in 2012 with Bitcoin. I discounted it. I had a business partner at the time that saw it coming, and I thought it was a joke. I've always been into productivity applications as it applies to the internet. I've never been into the gaming side and that type of thing. My brain doesn't really spend time with things that are in the gaming world or movies and things like that. But he saw it, and I regret it, because I would not be having this conversation with you now. I would own my own island somewhere. So Justin, should have listened to you back then. But now in the past 2 years, as I've seen some of those concerns that I had early on kind of be dealt with, and there's still a lot of things that are going to be dealt with in the near future in terms of legalities, function, how it applies, SEC for certain types of projects. Those things are starting to work themselves out, and I feel comfortable now diving headfirst into it. As a matter of fact, just like I'm urging you to get involved, that's why I got involved. I saw the time was right. I saw the technology had finally caught up, and the application process had become more simplified. It's still complex, but it's not so complex a small business can't do this themselves. So guys, it's just an introduction. I'm sorry I've been gone for a while, but I really have dove into this. A lot of white paper reading, a lot of studies, a lot of talking online with other guys, seeing what they're doing. But I'm going to share all this with you, and I'm going to urge you, as a small business owner, no matter what business you are in, this information is going to apply to you. It's important, it's relevant, and I urge you to pay attention. And I'm going to try to find some action points where we can do some of these things together and help you understand this in some experimental ways, some very inexpensive ways. So when it clicks, when you see how this applies to your business, you've already kind of worked some of those workflows out and you're ready to dive in. So guys, I'm Jim03 Studios. Do me a favor, smash the like button, smash the subscribe. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. I am going to answer your questions as if I'm consulting your business here. So if you want to know how this applies to your business, please ask. Once again, get out there, guys. Be social. I'll talk to you soon.